just ask everyone mute their mics, but if you have any questions, please unmute your mic and feel free in an orderly fashion. We'll just go about, be like, oh yeah, sure, what's your question? Most of the time I go through things that's pretty organic. I like to actually talk with you guys and have a discussion opposed to talk at you. And that's why we all learn, we have a good time, and we get to learn some more things. So first of all, my name is Seto Gesshuko. Mundanely, my name is Spencer Waddell. I'm a personal trainer. I'm also a student. I want to be a physical therapist, but I'm slowly along just trudging through that little by little. I used to teach Tai Chi at my little community college, which I paid for. I did that for about 4 years. Been doing martial arts since I was about 8. I'm 34 now. I love everything to have to do with swords, kicking, punching, you name it. It's all fun. Anything's fun. I've been in society for now 11 years. I've been king once of the mid-realm, so I'm a Count Seto. I've been a knight now for 5 years, so time flies by real fast. That's really weird. And I've been, like I said, martial arts since I was 8, seriously since I was 16. Did a little bit of Shonin-Ryu, Aikido, Hung-Gar Kung Fu, Iron Crane Tai Chi, Muay Thai, SCA, steel fighting, boxing, HEMA, HAMA, you name it. Like I said, a lot of stuff. But here today, we're talking about more of how to stay sharp while you're at home. And I know things are opening up a little bit more, so people have more opportunities if you feel comfortable to go out and do things. Like I know some people go to the gyms wearing their masks or whatever they're doing, but it's always hard if things do lock down more and you're like, what can I do in my house, in my space, outside? Just things that will help you. And this kind of stems into tricks of the trade. I had a talk on this like a little bit back in May or March, where we're talking about what are the tricks of our SCA fighting, be it rapier, fencing, armored, anything. What's the things we go for? And now the definition of tricks of the trade is the special ingenious techniques that can be used for your profession or craft, which is our kind of interesting fight style of not necessarily points fighting, just a little bit, but it's kind of more of that range, kind of like Taekwondo, where you tap somebody and it's over, you reset. SCA fighting is not like, we're not like boxing where you just keep on going until the person goes down. So there's things that are different for us. This being said, some of the special skills and knowledge granted in any profession, we learn by either oral tradition, by things us talking with other people, what works for you, what works for me. That being said, what works for me may not work for you. So that's the important part about finding out what works and what other people do, and you kind of form this kind of amalgamation or this kind of Frankenstein of what works for you, and you're better off in the long time because you get to learn other people's styles. So the 5 things that we'll talk about in the stay sharp, especially while staying home, it's like 1, find your drive, 5 your goal, find what makes you tick, because obviously there's times, this has been a pandemic of world proportions, there's a lot of times where you're just like, I have no more spoons. I have nothing I can do with this. Either get your friends to help motivate you. Some people like to go look and have someone have a minder, be like, hey, poke me every now and then politely to help make sure that I'm still on the horse or on the bike or whatever vehicle or mode of transportation you're on in this journey of fighting or just working on something. Number 2, learning how you learn. That sounds really kind of weird because you're like, wait, but I'm trying to learn how to learn in general. How do I learn how I learn? And this is where we talk about auditory, actually doing kinesthetic learning, reading, you name it. There's all different things. And sometimes we're a mix of both. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Then 3, we'll talk about our training. Like once we find that out, how do we do our training? Who do we do our training with? In this case, doing it with ourselves, doing this stuff with friends over online, watching YouTube videos, watching Billy Blanks do Taibo. I don't care. Whatever works for you. It's whatever, man. Which I saw him show up in a commercial and I was like, that's Billy Blanks. So anyway, I'm getting derailing a little bit. Know yourself or get to know yourself better. You're always learning something. I mean, I, of course, go more towards old school, conventional martial arts, be it Kung Fu, be it karate, be it anything. The people that are like, I know everything about this sport or everything about, those are the ones I'm like, sure, I'm glad you feel that way. Because I feel like you're always learning. And the time you stop learning, that's when you just stop growing. And it's impossible because there's too much stuff to learn. So I think you're always learning. That's why I never felt comfortable, like doing classes, because I'm like, I'm still putting things together. I have no idea. But that's what helps people along their path, right? And then the last part is 5. We'll talk about sticking with it and ways to help you stick with it. So I hope you guys have fun. And like I said, we'll go through things. And if you have any questions, please, in an orderly fashion, just unmute yourself and you'd be like, hey, Seto, what did you mean by that last part you said? I don't mind. We have time. We have an hour. Go for it. All right. Numero uno. What drives you? What is your goal? What do you want to accomplish? In martial arts, in proportion to like the SCA Armored and Rapier or Cut and Thrust, we're all fighters. What do you think about when it comes to fighting, right? So is it like, I want to best everyone that is across from me? Do I want to actually become a proficient teacher so I can help people that had maybe the problems I had, not have such a hard time in the future? That's what can drive you. Of course, in our system, we don't have like black belts or things like that, but we have trying to become a peer, even though it's different than other traditional martial arts, because that when you learn this thing, you do tests and then you get the thing. Ours is a little bit more, you do the things, you eventually maybe get recognized and maybe you get the thing. So it's different in that part. Sometimes I think it's harder a lot, but find out what drives you and then think about it as far as, is this a rational goal? Do I think I can accomplish this? But then if you can't decide yourself, talk to someone you trust and be a sounding board, because we're always hard on ourselves. There's something we're like, man, I'm not even close to doing this, or I shouldn't even bother. First of all, I'd say anything worth doing is worth doing well. But then if it makes you happy, try it. Try doing it. As long as it doesn't hurt those around you or hurt yourself, it's worth trying. And then if you figure out you'll never maybe make it to Branos level or oil level, but you can maybe be something else, and that's great. Or whatever, like, I'll never be Don Chapon either, but I'm going to try to poke him as many times as I can. And it's just fun. Just find your goals that you want and what drives you. For me personally, it was becoming a knight, but that means I didn't stop. I wanted to win crown tourney once, at least. Did that, but I don't want to stop. And now it's like some other goals, some things outside the SCA, but some things in the SCA. But that's what helps you decide that you're going to keep on doing things. Because otherwise, I mean, let's be honest, the pandemic's been hard. Like, we don't get to see our friends. We're constantly losing ground sometimes. For the people that are doing great, that are actually meeting their goals or staying in shape and doing things, more power to them. But I know myself, it's like been, oh yeah, I'm going to do really good. The next week I do bad. Oh, I'm going to do real good, or whatever it may be. So it's just kind of, if you need to put a poster on the board, like you have like the little kind of kitten hanging in there, and you're like, you just need that so you see that every day, and you're like, hey in there, buddy, it'll be all right. Do whatever you need to do. And just start off with little goals. So that's all the part about what drives you, and find out what drives you, find out what's your goal, and set up your goals. One last thing before we move on that part about goals. Goals can be hard. You can always change them, especially being a personal trainer. A lot of people are like, well, I want to lose weight. That necessarily shouldn't always be your goal. It should be more like, I want to improve. I want to feel stronger. That can be good. And it doesn't, we have really good little things in our head that will say, oh, I'm copying out by doing that. That's not true. Just pick your goals and try to make it there, and then evaluate, or have your friends help you evaluate, people that you trust. So now, point 2, let's go to learning. It's important to shop around. Shop around, find a good teacher, find what works for you. Of course, this question, you're like, how do I know if this is a good teacher? Well, you obviously have some people that you know that you respect or you think are cool, and not in a shady way where you're like, hey, what do you think about them? Do they suck or are they cool? Like, not throwing shade. You're just like, hey, this person teaching this way. And most people in a professional sense, even though we're not getting paid for the SCA stuff, but we're still professionals in the SCA, people will be like, well, I think they have their background in this, I think they're a good teacher for this style or that. So yeah, maybe talk to them about this. Or some people be like, oh, I've heard some things, but everything's with a grain of salt. And it's not necessarily from a gossipy standpoint. You're just trying to figure out, you're just shopping around teachers. And I say personally myself, if anyone wants to learn under me, which I'm like, you don't have to become a squire. You don't have to be a man at arms. There's no like, you've got to sign this contract with me, and then you can't talk to anybody else, which I don't know. There might be people like that. That's not the right way to go about things. Most people will teach you as long as you want to learn and you want to put in the time, and then you find out that's the style you want to learn. Honestly, in this day of technology, which has been really cool for COVID, one of the few things, you see all different types of seminars like this, or just talks. There's a lot of people from across the known world that you would normally not to see things so much. And people are pretty accessible. You just respectfully say like, hey, so-and-so, I saw your talks. I thought that was really interesting. Or you're like, please, madam, I thought this was really cool. Could you talk about this a little bit more? People are very receptive to giving you information if you ask for it. And something that I've got over myself lately is if you ask and they happen to say no, you're just like, oh, okay. Hopefully they're nice about it. But the worst thing you can do is they say no. But most people are going to want to say yes. They're like, oh, you want to talk about swords or pole arms or archery? Or yeah, I could talk for days. And then you're like, okay, cool. I can talk for like 5 minutes. But you find things, just find out what works for you. So the technology in that part can help, or even books or videos. So do your research, look around. After you're fairly certain, though, that you're doing your research and trying things out, that you're on the path of learning, stick with it. It's easier said than done, as we talked about before. Everything, easier said than done. But a personal experience for myself, when I was doing two swords, especially Florentine fighting for a little while, I thought I was pretty good. Then I got to fight Duke Sean, and he's not even a predominant sword fighter, or two-sword fighter, and he kicked my butt from like here to Saturday, and I was just like, you like fall to your knees, and you're like, teach me all you know. And he's like, okay, I got to do this. For me, he was like, all right, get rid of your right hand because you're pretty good with that. Fight 6 months with shield and sword or shield and buckler or single hand. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to win a lot like that. He's like, nope, you're not, but you're going to learn. And it helps a lot. But that's the kind of thing where you have to decide if you actually want to get better. I'm not trying to talk myself up because it was sad. And I was just like, there were many times where I got beat by somebody. I'm like, I know I could beat them if I could use my other hand. And then maybe something you go back and get it. But it's that time where you're deciding, okay, if I really want to get better, there's going to be times where you're like, oh, I'm getting really good. I'm going to get, and then to learn, you go down, but then you come back even stronger. So that's an important thing to think. And most people, when you're talking, even though we have some jerks, everybody, if you say you're working on something, they're normally pretty receptive. So that's okay. If you need to say that, I mean, really, you just do what you do. But sometimes you're just like, they're like, whoa, well, you were doing really good. What's going on now? You're like, I'm trying something. So that's okay. Also, breaks are totally fine. There are times we push, and we just come to a point where like, I can't absorb anymore, even at that time. Or like you need a break for like a week or whatever it may be. Like breaks are okay. Doesn't mean you're quitting. Doesn't mean you're giving up. Just know when your cup is full. Like if you fill up your cup so much more, a cup's not useful when it's just pouring out of the side anymore. Like you're just like, sweet, I got stuff everywhere. Now I'm gonna have to clean that up. So be real with yourself. Let's say breaks time. But if you reach your goal, always make sure you have that goal in mind. So always be thinking about your goal. That'll help you stick with it. Especially in the SCA, there are so many things to do. So it's easy to go in different directions. Sometimes really planning it out as a roadmap is helpful. Not that I wish anyone to eventually get injured or hurt or have to slow down or stop a bit, but always seek medical professional help if you're hurt and suffering. Don't suffer through things. This is something, especially I know myself, I want to harp more on the SCA when we get back. And I say, people be if. I'm like, when we get back. There'll either be some people there. I mean, I know I'll show up eventually. There may be 2 other people there, but we're going to go back eventually. But if you're hurting, like, not just because I'm a personal trainer, not just the thoughts, like actually doing warm-ups. And if people come to you and I swear if they're like, warm-ups, that sounds dumb, let me know. Because I will totally be like, well, let's warm up with doing something. It's fine. Like we just get out there, we get home, or we get to the event, we put on our stuff and we go out there. Sometimes we don't even do like shoulder rotations, do some like little run in place, anything. What we do is actually strenuous. A lot of people, obviously, they look at what we're doing, be rapier, armor, cut and thrust. They're like, wow, you guys are crazy for doing this in the first place. You need to make sure to take care of your body. So warming up, just even if it's just and now when I say warming up, don't necessarily make it like, hey, let's fight at 50%. Because you know and I know, a lot of us, whenever we get there, I fight at 50%. And then there's stuff everywhere. You amp it up real quick. So just throw some shots. Throw some offside shots. Do some warm-ups. Do some circles. That's something I want to try to make more a part of our culture. Be rapier, armored, anything. I don't care. Just fighting. Where am I at? Sorry. So just make sure you don't hurt yourself. Take care of yourself. Don't ever think you have to power through. And if you're hurt, you're hurt. That's another thing where people, I know when I was going through the SC or being squire type thing, people are like, you just fight through it. That's the cool thing to do. It's like, no, it's stupid. Like, first of all, we're not getting paid. This is all for fun and for hobby. We're all going stuff. You're hurting yourself, and you're going to hurt yourself when you go back to your job and real life things. They're not going to be like, oh, you hurt yourself playing with swords or sticks or bows. Like, well, I need you to do this work or you're not going to be able to do your work. So take care of yourself. But that being said, you can most of the time train your mind. Also, I know that sounds very woo-jooey or kind of like, ooh, you must train your mind to harness the power, mind, body, and soul. But I believe in that very much so. I think about fighting a lot. Thinking about fighting can help you when you go out and do fighting. I think that's one of the things why I am more successful. Duke Kellett talks about thinking about putting yourself in a winning thoughts. I know he has a whole talk about that. That can really help you with stuff when you're just like, okay, I'm watching this or watching that. Like, what would they do if I do this? Or what would I do if they do this? Yeah, you get into some conjecture, but thinking about things, reading books on terminology, training your mind, fighting, or just broadening your horizon can help keep your brain malleable or try something new. Because we're easily get stuck in our ruts, right? We're like, I only like bastard swords with this hilt this way and this blah, 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 or what it may be. And then you come across this style, something you've never seen it before, and you're like, I have no idea what to do. And it kills you because you don't even think about it. This happened for me a lot whenever I go over to like Australia or other places when they have Madus. Because our kingdom in the middle is like, Madus are weapons for peasants. They are pointy sticks with two ends. We do not use Madus. I'm like, well, that's a great find for us. But then when I see a Madu, I'm getting killed by it because I don't know how to deal with it. And that's bad. So messing around with stuff is fine. It helps you. And it's a lot of fun. The modern, something that you can look up if you guys have your computers or obviously you're on something. Looking at on YouTube, the modern martial artists. And after you get done with this, I'll try to put a bunch of links and other things. They just talk about different kind of, be it MMA, be it, they had some sword fighting stuff on there lately. They talk about other just fight practitioners of the known world. They had something on like Mike Tyson in the Demano Shift, where they talk about his positioning and like what he'd do that made him so deadly. It's just fun things that help keep your mind sharp. Because I thought about that, I'm like, I could do that, and I could do that with two sword. That would work in this game. So it's fun. This comes in handy when fights, I say, especially when you run across something that you that's new, as we talked about before. That way you're not so shell-shocked when you see it, and it doesn't hurt you during that fight, and you're behind the thinking wheel already. So by training your mind, be more thinkable, be more flexible. That's what helps you expect the unexpected. It sounds corny, but it makes you better prepared. All right, moving on to training. Any questions so far? Where we're going? Cool, awesome. All right, training. Techniques, let's just talk about techniques. Figure out what you like. Myself, I love two sword. I never wanted to use a shield. I mean, shields are cool. I do go back to other styles, but originally what I wanted to do, that was not really in the outlook. So I like that style. Of course, in our game, you have to authorize and shield and sword first. But after I did that for like a year, because Vargas is like, my knight was like, you're going to fight this for like a year. And then after that year was done, I was like, shield's gone. And then I got two swords. Now I still got to practice it so I don't suck. But that's know what you like, and then work your way towards trying out what you like. Because if you like something, you're automatically going to want to do it more, right? Because there's some things we do that we're like, I don't want to do this, but then of course this is our hobby. And if we're doing things in our hobby that we don't want to do, we're not going to really do them that long, unless you're like really, really, really devoted, which is more power to you. Physical aspects, train your body. You get out of your body what you put into it. Doesn't mean you have to be crazy. Doesn't mean you have to be like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, doing stuff there. Find out what works for you, but know when you're fighting, you're doing your melees or whatever it may be that you do, and you're like, ooh, I am sucking wind. I really would like to hit that person, but I can't. Think about just honestly walking something. They talk about weird, walking 10,000 steps a day can help you a lot, even though that's a lot. Just walk what you can. But it sounds simple, but preparing yourself for what you want to do can help. And training your body is a part of it. Doesn't mean you have to do the crazy push-up challenges they always do, because they're crazy. I don't know if I can do 100 push-ups a day because my shoulder is always hurting. They're like, do 100 push-ups a day. I'm like, I'm going to be tired, and I can't do everything. I might do like 10 then. I'll do something. I'll do so. Just do whatever works for you. Then we already talked about mental aspects. But as far as mental aspects, as far as training your body, something else really important is losing. You're always going to, everyone's going to end up losing. I don't care who you are. Unless you're just some kind of savant and you've never lost a battle in your life. And I'm just like, more power to you. But I feel that's going to make other kind of stigmas that's going to make you worry about losing. It just happens. Obviously, we're not all superheroes or anything. You're going to lose. It's going to happen. it sounds also cliche. Learn from your mistakes, or not necessarily mistakes, because losing is not always a mistake. Sometimes the people are just better than you. Some people just do things that you've never seen before, all kinds of reasons. But be prepared to lose, and then ask that person sometimes, and most of the time they'll be gracious enough, like, how'd you beat me with that? Or what'd you do there? And they'll be like, hey, maybe I can't talk to you right now, but later I'll surely come. Because I know a lot of fighters are like, let me show how I beat you this way. I'm like, all right, don't be cocky, but just tell me what happened. Because some things you don't see. So that can be helpful. And obviously something easier that we don't talk about as much, taking care of your equipment. I know myself, especially with pandemic, I've only taken out my armor like maybe, well, I've been doing some stuff with like a wandering sword thing, so I take it out every now and then. But because we have no SCA, it's been like maybe once, twice, 3 times. Take a look at it, see what works. We have a lot of leather bits, we have a lot of things that break, and when we get back out there and we want to do stuff, we're gonna be like, ha, I'm ready, and then it's gonna break, and you're gonna be like, ah, shoot. Now I can't play. Or you have to duct tape it right away, and you're like, no. But look at how your stuff works. Try to have yourself a little kit ready. So the more things you have in place to fix your armor failures when they do fail and get you right back in the game and learning is fine. I mean, yes, there's sometimes things break and you can't fix it and you're just out for the day. But just because you're out of armor for the day, you might go through that funk of like, oh, I don't want to do things because I can't really fight. Just look at, maybe I can't fight, but now I can watch them fight. Or maybe I can watch that one fighter that always beats me and I can just watch them all day and just lurk and see what they do all the time. And plus it makes them feel awkward because you're like, just looking to see what you do, you know? And they're like, oh, why is that person looking at me? I don't know, whatever works for you. Routine is important. Sequence of actions. The definition of routine is a sequence of actions regularly followed and a fixed program. This can help yourself. I know I've been trying to do some more. So like, I know it gets outside, like, and Instagram's horrible and things, but because I do more social media stuff with my kind of work stuff, I'm like, okay, I wake up, I have my breakfast, I do my coffee, I do my little bit of workout, and then I do my Instagram post, and then I read a book on something, and then I maybe go for a walk, and then I start this, and I do that every single day. And it sounds really stupid, but I made an Excel spreadsheet, and I just have my thing, and after I get it done, I exit off. There'll be some days, you better believe I did it anyway, I don't want to exit off, but you got to make a habit. And you give yourself grace period for when you mess up, but it really helps you stay on track. And it really makes you feel good when you finish it, but also don't put too many things on your list. That's another thing to think about, but just something can help. So this was all under training, right? Basic training programs, people sometimes are like, hey, help me with the program, what's going on? And a basic train up program, and I'll try to get Oswin, or I'll talk to Elizabeth after this, and we can maybe get it with the link to this. It's just a basic program. I put 2 of them. It talks about warm-up, jump rope, which is hard. I hate jump rope, but learning is interesting. Or you can just do other things, just kind of run in place. So jump rope, 5 minutes, footwork focus. So anything you want to do for footwork focus, do for 5 minutes. Then after that, it talks about agility ladder. That's a part of the more footwork. We're getting in there. Agility ladder is basically, you could draw a hopscotch thing on the sidewalk. Well, not now because it's snowing everywhere. But you just kind of like act like you're stepping through a ladder and other different positions. Do that 3 rounds, 30 seconds of rest, increase speed each time. A round is down and back. So you do down and back. Then you can do dynamic stretches. Just basic as like forward leg swings. Just you can do that anywhere we're standing safely. You do side swings, forward swings, rear swings. That's what I have. And then I have shadow boxing as the first part. Shadow boxing and Pell work. So one thing I love from boxing is I learned shadow boxing, like you're just punching at yourself, you're slipping. We can do the same thing with rapier. We can do like rapier fighting. We can do the slips. The same thing you do with armored fighting. You can swing, move, but you still want to make sure when you're doing this, you're doing a good technique. You want to just be like throwing and slipping. You're still throwing a good punch, then maybe like you're slipping. Or you're throwing a good sword swing, then you're blocking. Doing that for a solid 3 minutes at your like earnest is hard. It's like my old sensei would always say, is like punch that punching bag hard for like a minute. And you're like, a minute. But you're just like, and then 10 seconds go by and you're like, that wasn't a minute yet. So that's the stuff where it doesn't take long to do. Do that for just 3 minutes, take a minute break. Do that again for like 2 minutes, give it a minute break. Always think about form, push yourself, keep good form is paramount. That's a good little workout, especially if you're doing it in armor. You can do it in armor if you want to. You can do it out of armor if you want to. I think doing things in armor is important because you don't have to do it every time. It's like some of the Battle of the Nations people that I've been fighting with, or was playing to fight with a lot lately. They don't always fight in all their armor. Sometimes they have soft kit on, and they're doing like buffer swords or a little Pell, Belagar swords, because one, you'll tear up your joints all the time, but at least you're still going through the motions. So I think it's important to fight out armor, but then when you want to start practicing, you should still fight in armor. Put that gauntlet on at least, and then that, or if not, gauntlet and helmet, or fencing mask and gloves with your sword. So it feels different when you put a glove in your hand. Then we got to Pell work is another part of it. Heavy bag and Pell work. I broke this down to 5 rounds. First round, if you're doing boxing wise, like you're just doing straight punches for 3-minute rounds each one. So you're gonna have a total of 15 rounds. Round 2, you're doing straight punches, then hooks. Or if you're doing Pell work, I'm gonna just get to armored right now at this point, but it could easily be changed to rapier, cut and thrust too. You do flat snaps, and then for round 2, you're doing flat snaps off bodies. So flat snaps however you want, bodies, off, whatever you want. Round 3, now you're doing flat snaps, offsides, then body shots. So sorry, it's flat snap, offside, body shots, and not necessarily in a row each time, just any of those. You can just throw only flat snaps, but that's a part of your arsenal. Round 4, you're doing flat snap, offsides, body shots, leg shots. That's for 3 minutes. Then after that, and that one, you're not going crazy, like each time, you're not gonna really fight like that. Just, move around, bop, 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 just something like that. Because if you're really just going, I mean, it's great if you get out there and just be like, wham, 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 but just take your time. You want to sustain yourself. And then round 5 is just freestyle. You do all the tools that you had before, just do it for another 3 minutes. And you take 1 minute rest in between each of these. So for boxing wise, it's straight punches, hooks, then body shots, uppercuts, then freestyles. So it'll be 15 minutes with 1 minute in between. So now you're getting up there, well, because the 5th one won't count, doing 19 minutes worth. That's a good workout. That plus your warm up, nice little workout. Basic exercises, push-ups, we talk about that, but people don't think about wall push-ups. Using the wall, nothing wrong with that. Pushing yourself off the wall. We all got to start somewhere. That's perfectly fine. Then you can do incline push-ups. I never call them girl push-ups because girls can do way better push-ups on other ones. So it's just they're incline push-ups where you're on your knees. That's fine. And then basic push-ups. So there are different ways you can do things. Don't ever let it seem like I can't do what is considered the normal one. So therefore, I shouldn't do it at all. Worst thinking ever, because you got to start somewhere. And that's one of those things too. I mean, I'm not a big bad guy, but especially at least in the mid realm, anyone says like, oh, you're doing those push-ups, why can't you do the real ones? Just let me know and I will come clobber them verbally nicely. Or if they're on the list field physically, but not bullying wise, I'll just be a little bit more little spice on it. But that's, people have to learn. Don't put other people down, especially when they're trying. Then, so we got body weight squats, just using regular body weight. Bent over rows, you can do that with dumbbells or resistance bands. And then planks, full arms. Using full arms easier than using forearm planks. There's always ways to change it. And try to work up to doing this 4 days a week for 20 to 30 minutes. That's it. Just 4 days a week. I know that's a lot. You're like, every single day, 4 days a week. You get 7 days in a week. So that means 3 of those days you can be lazy. But if you're lazy those other ones, get those 4 days in. And then only do 20 minutes. That's the minimum. Or do 30. It will help you. There's so many times, I know I'm a big game player. I'll be like, I'm going to play a game of League of Legends or this, or I'm going to do this. That took me 45 minutes. And I'm like, I'm going to do another game. And I'll be like, have I done my workouts yet? No, I should do my workouts. Then I maybe can do another game. Then I can play some Call of Duty or something, whatever it may be. But just do it and it helps yourself. You'll think yourself better. Record your current level. See where you're at. This is the big important part, is making a list. I did this today. And we have our phones, we have books, like pencil and paper, just record it. It's not too hard. And start working on a journal. You can look at things, especially with COVID and everything wise. We're like, day 356, I did this. It was great. But then the next day I didn't because I hated it. It keeps a track. It makes you think about things. So those are basic stuff, and I'll make sure to make a list of this. Test your limits every 2 weeks. See an example of how much you can do in 5 minutes. Just see yourself, or you can just keep on going. And you'll see how strong you are at the end. It's like people when I tell them, they're like, I want to max out bench all the time. You don't need to do that all the time. You just lift the weights. It'll be fine. You'll be better. And then maxing out really doesn't matter as much anyway. Make clear goals. How many should I do? See what you can do. If you can't, be real with yourself. If you can't do what you thought you could do, don't be disappointed with yourself. Get back on that horse. If you want to have a goal, work towards it. And if you can never reach that goal, stay with where you're at and be happy with that. And that's harder said than done, but that is still wherever you are, no matter what. Your starting position is where some people want to end. I know people are like, no, that can't be there. I'm telling you, everyone in this room right now, that is the truth with somebody. There's somebody that wishes they were doing as much as you, was as strong as you, or that part. Because there's always people that are, I don't want to say worse off, because that sounds rude, but they're in a position where they're not where you're at. And that's the truth. So even if you can only make yourself like 5 pounds stronger, like lifting this, that's still great. And then just do it more often, eventually get stronger. One last story before we get back to 4. Myself, back when I was in the military, little skinny Seto. I remember working out with one of my friends. He was like a little aide that did like PT stuff. And I was like, hey, can I work out with you after doing things? He's like, sure, yeah, you can come to the gym. I'm doing this. And he's like lifting bench. And he was really serious about his working out. And he didn't want someone to like slow him down, which made sense because he's in there to work. And I was like, I couldn't do the bench at 45, so I'd have to take stuff off it. And that slowed him down too much because there's only one bench. And he said it as nice as possible, but he's like, this isn't really going to work. You're not strong enough so I can do my routine. And that time it was just like, I hate this. Oh my God, I never want this to happen. And that was part of why I wanted to get stronger, because I didn't want to be not able to do that. And it wasn't, I took that and I wasn't like, I hate that person, he's mean. I was like, shoot, I can't do that. I'm going to be able to do it eventually. And now I can. I mean, not a whole lot, but it's just using that positive. You can always look at things negatively if you want to, but try to make it positive. Easier said than done. I understand. Easier said than done. Clear goals. Master your form first. Form is important. Nowadays, you can record your form and send it to somebody who you think is trustworthy. And you can be like, hey, am I doing this right? People will help you. Or if they're smart, they'll say that old good service response. I don't know this, but I can get you the right answer. And then send it to someone else to trust. And then keeping things simple allowed us to spend more time in nutrition. Nutrition is important. I'm not going to get into the big things about that here because there's so many different things. People have so many different dietary restrictions from that. But this is important to see how many calories you're putting in, plus how many calories you're putting out. There's other things that can help you or hurt you in that. It's not as simple as that all the time. As one of my favorite, there's I forget the name. I meant to have that for this class, but there's like one guy, he just draws little like pictures and it talks about nutritional facts. It's like stay fit or easy fit something. And at the end of his whole thing is like, it depends, because there's some things that work for people and some things doesn't. So it feels like exercise science is more exercise theory, which I hate learning that more days. So I'm like, this is not super simple. But that is training. Training is a big part of it. So that's why 3. So we got 2 more. How are we doing time? Oh, we're still good. Okay. And then at the end, we'll open up for some other questions if you guys have questions on topic, off topic, anything. So sticking with it. Easier said than done, but look at your mentors. Mentors don't necessarily have to mean someone older than you. I have tons of mentors that are younger than me. I have tons of mentors that are all kinds of walks of life. You don't always have to look for the person that necessarily stronger than you. There's some people that will know things better than you know. So mentors don't have to be someone you're subservient to, and they don't have to be someone that you necessarily look up to. It could be anybody who helps you or does a thing that you want to do really well that can help mentor you. Or it could be as simple as somebody, they may not be interested in fighting or working on, but they are really good at time management. You're like, can you mentor me on time management? That can really help. So look at that side of the box. Groups are important. I've been so happy to see a lot of SCA groups are still doing a lot of fighter practices virtually, with people talking about things virtually. If you want to find a group, there are groups for you to find and help you piggyback off their ideas, as well as keep you inside the thoughts. And if the thoughts get too high and too much and you're just like, I can't right now, take a step back. Even if you're like moderating it. And that's, so many people get this up. This is like kind of a side note. People are like, well, I'm in charge of the group, so I can't step back. I'm like, no, you can. You'd be like, hey, things have been really hard. I'm putting this person in charge real quick for a little bit. Or, hey guys, just hang out. Don't really worry about this stuff. And I'll be back in a week. It's not going to fall apart as long as you're honest with people and tell them what's going on. Don't make yourself a martyr. Don't make yourself hurt yourself mentally, physically, anyways, but just because you feel you have to do it. We all need breaks. Households can be strong if you have households to help you with things. Friends are great. Like I said, if you need a friend to be like, hey, could you politely remind me to do this every now and then? And if they're nice enough, they'll do so. And then if you snap back at them, they'll be like, hey, I'm doing this for you. Don't you snap at me. Give me all chances. But people are understanding. And then studies, sticking with all your studies. Like if you say, I'm going to watch a video once a week, or I'm going to do something, just stick with it. So sticking with it's important. Once again, easier said than done, but set up things incrementally. That will help you. Number 5, last one we'll talk about, and we'll have all the closing statements, and we'll go for what you guys want to think or talk about. Getting to know yourself, or get to know yourself better. Also trying to make this a running gag of easier said than done. There is a lot of things. I think a lot of skatings do know themselves more than some people do, but then some people are also very out of touch. Just depends. I know when people are like, you got to drink water every single time. You're like, I'm really sloshed. I'm not trying to lie to you, but I can't have any more. Or I need to sit down right now. And someone's like, hey, keep on going. So you're like, I just really need to sit down right now. Getting to know yourself is really important of becoming a martial artist, a true martial artist to myself. I know that seems like such a buzzword for people like, I'm a martial artist. So the things we do in our way of life, like we're doing a martial activity. But there's different levels of that. And getting to know your own body and getting to know things really help, or knowing how far you can push yourself. That being said, don't be upset if you, at one point, you knew your body and then your body changes, or because we've been out of things, you're like, I used to be able to do this and now I can't. Our body's a changing scale, either with age, accidents, all different things. And sometimes just that cosmic dice is just like, whoa, I've been given this. I just can't deal with this as much anymore. That's fine. So get to know yourself. I think if you aren't having fun, then what are you doing? Unless there's something particularly, you're doing this because it's a survival skill and something you want to do. This is outside SCA or inside. But for the most part, especially everything SCA, if you're not having fun doing it, don't do it, or figure out a way to make it fun. Easier said than done too, but just work on that. So that's one of the biggest parts, I think, getting to know yourself and then having fun doing what you're doing. So going over that once again, find your drive, find your goal, find out what makes you tick. That's number 1. Learn about how you learn your learning style. That I didn't touch on. I'll touch on that just a little bit more. So the main ones, I believe, and I might be off on one, there's hearing things, or just listening, auditory learning. There's kinesthetic learning, touching and doing these things, tactile. There's like book reading. And then there's seeing and doing. I know I could just look it up on the internet, wise, and I should have been better prepared on that. But there's ideally 5 learning styles, which find out which one works for you. And you might be a little bit of both. You might be a little bit of them all. I know myself, you can talk at me, but if I don't get to do the thing a little bit, then so you can talk at me, and then I'm like, okay, I need you to tell me that again, and then I need to do the thing. And then later I find myself, if I'm going to learn a little bit more, I read about it. That helps me. And then just listening sometimes can help me too. So it's kind of like stages, and it depends what it is. So find your learning style, and then figure out who teaches your learning style for you better. And it might be multiple people, it might be no one singular. You might have to go for each person for each thing. 3, training. Make sure you stick on your training. Be it your mind, be it your studies, all these parts, just try to stick with the regiment and try to be consistent, because consistency is what wins the day. That's a lot of our greatest athletes or anything. There are some people that have Olympic level skills, but they only practice like twice a year, or they never stay with it. So therefore they're not going to become an Olympian, right? Because if you don't do it over and over, you're not going to get it. Getting to know yourself and know yourself better, as we said it before, and then sticking with it. I said the modern martial artist is one thing I say I'd watch, and then I'll post a video too. There's something where they talk on dynamic stretching, or it's something interesting that you can work up to. It's a lot of Bruce Lee kind of he didn't just go out and fight. He just do stretches and just kicks and things, and that can just help you and yourself. And especially for people that have warehouse jobs or anything where you're standing, and as long as you're not gonna kick people, you can just be like, you can do your stretches, you can do things. You might look like crazy, but as long as your managers are like, you can do that, at least in the back area, it's not bad. I mean, it's using your time. So that is all I have. It's really more of a thought processes things. A lot of the things are pretty simple, and not to be placating or anything. That's not anything inventing the wheel, but sometimes hearing things a certain way can help you. But I think those are the certain things that can help you stay sharp while at home. And between using a little bit of regiment, either the one I have here or finding one that works for you, those things, if you do those things, you'll be better off than a lot of people coming out of the pandemic or just going through things in general. So if we want to, one at a time, if you have any questions or just want to say something, please let me know. If not, that's perfectly okay. We still have 15 minutes. We can stare awkwardly at each other in our eyes, and that'll be fine too.
Sure. I have a question.
Oops, I think I
I don't know if somebody else spoke at the same time I did. It's Brant.
Oh, Brant, go ahead, Brant, go for it.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on maintaining the reflexes and the mental acuity that we rely on in, like heavy combat or heavy armor combat
Yeah.
to because obviously if you're doing Pell work, you can do Pell work or shadow boxing. You're maintaining the muscles, but
Not necessarily the reaction times on things.
exactly, yeah.
No, I think that's something helpful. Once again, everything's kind of snowy, and everybody may not have a lot of space here. Like right now, I'm in my office. I have a ceiling that can touch the ceiling a little bit, but I can do some things. I say using tennis balls or some things wise. Now, granted, it's hard if you're in armor, but if you honestly have a tennis ball on a string and you set it up to where, I don't know if you go outside in your tree, you set up your little Pell, and you have a tennis ball to where it either intercepts on the side, so there's something moving, and it may not be moving fast, but it gives you something for timing. It may not be the super fast timing that you have if Duke Brown is throwing a shot at you or something, but it's something that's making you focus on something. You're like, okay, it's swinging, I throw my shot, and now it's coming back, I step out of it. Or you can do the tennis balls coming, and it can be going this way, or it can be going sideways, and you're targeting at the shot right here. Are you following me on that part? You kind of understand?
Yeah, completely.
Okay, so you can either make it go this way, so now you have to duck this way and throw a shot, and throw this way, and then when it hits you, you can add yourself a penalty, something, and be like, all right, I have to do 2 more shots, or a push-up, or whatever it may be. But that little tennis ball can help a whole lot. Or 2, with timing, I know this is more indicative of, I hear a lot of rapier people talk about this a lot more, but this does work in armored, having tennis balls of different parts, and you're doing spear shots, or thrusts, or even hits. I think a tennis ball can be one of your biggest allies in helping you. And think about outside of the box too. Sometimes you're not always trying to hit that tennis ball. Sometimes you're trying to aim right before it. Sometimes you're not trying to touch it at all. That's a really drill in Hama we start doing more. My sensei Damon Steve does this. He'll have the tennis ball just going, and he'll swing at it, and you're just trying to cut it like right before you almost touch it. And you're not trying to touch it. You're just trying to be right there on timing. So now you're working on your timing, and then you can kind of duck into it if you want to. But those are some ways. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that helps a lot. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool, no problem. Antonio, and then we'll get Arnora afterwards.
Actually, this is was a fencing coach for Olympic fencing for a long time. And what we did with my students was we had a machine, almost like a metronome, but it would make random sounds. Mm-hmm. So when you did the random sound, you would throw your shot, and you would visualize. Like I do a lot of visualization training. I work a lot with Sean, so me and you.
Yeah.
But like having even like a metronome to like either fight, you can get a metronome app on your phone for free usually, and either fight with the clicks or in between the clicks. It's something that you have that you can just even if you don't have a tennis ball, the space, maybe you can just go with a ruler and a door edge, click, boom. It makes it a little easier to do things like that. And tennis balls are good too. You can do it where you hit the tennis ball multiple times in a row without missing. But metronome training is really good because you can change the speed of it too. So it just makes it easier. So you're like, with your imagination, that guy threw a shot, click, boom, move, and things like that.
Yeah.
And, another thing is, we're all getting back. We need to reassess our victory conditions. Like sometimes after like this whole big layoff, maybe the win for your day is I went to practice.
Yeah.
So that's all I have, and I'm gonna get out of here because the lady's making dinner.
All right, awesome.
I haven't seen you since Australia, and I miss you, sir. And hopefully one day you'll either come back down to 100 minutes, or I'll see you at Adult Swim.
Most definitely, my friend. And it's good to see you. Enjoy your dinner. Bye. Thanks for tuning in. No, the metronome training is a really great idea. I didn't put that in this one, which I'll actually leave myself a note. Part of training, and that's why I like doing these, because you think about things. Music can sometimes help. For me personally, like I know I love my music. That I do that naturally, not naturally. I train myself to think about. I'll hear music, and I may put something more BPMs, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing it every time to the beat, this part here, but always keep in good form. So that metronome train is another way to get you good. Work on your reaction speeds, work on reaction times. Cool, that's great. Good point. You want to say something, Arnora?
Yeah, well, now I have to add on to the fact that I'd never thought about a metronome, and I'm a musician, and that just upsets me a little bit that I never thought about that.
Better late than never.
Because that makes total sense. I mean, usually as a musician, it's the bane of my existence, but now it might actually be helpful. One of the things that I was going to suggest is, because some people live in places where it's very, very cold, and My husband and I have an outdoor Pell, but we had a crazy idea, or I had a crazy idea, that we could make an indoor Pell in like a bigger area where there's space. And
100%.
honestly, we have a not a banner stand that can just sit straight on the ground, and the stakes can go in it if it's outside. Otherwise, it sits flat on the ground, and you can put the banner pole in it, and it's a Pell inside that you can put up and take down. If you're into Pell work, I know some people don't do Pell work as much as others, but it's something that can keep you in the form. And it was something that I just thought of, so I just want to throw it out there so other people can take up the idea if they happen to be like, I don't have a Pell inside. I'm like, well, if you have a banner stand, you might now have a Pell inside.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
And just saying that the coaches corner has been some of the biggest help that this pandemic has put out. And like you were saying, it's great that we get to talk to people that are from all over that we wouldn't get to talk to. Just that every week with them, like you said, you work with Sean. I've never worked with Sean, but so much of his stuff has resonated with me from watching that I'm like, oh.
He's absolutely amazing. I know it's different for everybody wise, but he was definitely one that started making me reach for the goals that I had. It really, really helped.
But that was all. I just wanted to say.
Very good. No, I thank you, and it's good to see your face. And I think the banner pole idea is great. Gives you something like in what space, and all you really need is honestly like a 4x4, which not everybody has 4x4 space to use. But sometimes you don't have to have all the great swings. It's that whole victory condition. If you only have to punch in this little square, yeah, that may be all you get. But now your A range, when you get up close, it's going to be bam, really quick, and they'll be like, "Whoa, that's a really good shot." You're like, "That's all I had to work on for this past something year." So, no, it's a great idea. Anyone else? We still have like 9 minutes left. And if not, that's A-okay. I will leave early and go get my dinner too.
Can I make a random observation?
Please.
You're talking about different learning styles, so I'm going to throw this out there. Apparently there are 8.
8 now? Wouldn't that change?
Yeah, I don't know all of them, but anyway, because people do learn differently. All of the things that you're describing, to me in my head, I'm thinking SMART goals, SMART goals, SMART goals. To me, that was something that was ingrained in me real hard. So maybe something else for somebody to look up is the SMART goal process.
Okay, no, I'll put that on.
And yeah, because I think it fits like right with everything that you're talking about.
Okay. No, I think that's great. And that's the part where there's no, people get so caught up on like, especially when they're teaching, like sometimes people like the fact they're like, well, that's not the way I was talking about right now. So I don't want, don't throw out the way. If that helps somebody live there, that's great. There's like, that's amazing. So cool. No, I will definitely put that on there. SMART goals. Thank you. What else do we have? Anyone else? Well, that's okay. Going once, going twice. It has been a great time learning from you guys as well as teaching. I hope you had a good time. I will, Elizabeth, do you have something else right now after this? Okay, I'll send you the list of, or at least like the workout thing there. I should make it to where I can do this whole handout, but it's not pretty enough yet for me when I put it out there. So I'll just cut and paste the one part. And if you guys have any questions on that, go free to look at it because they'll put the recording up there. It was a really great time, and I thank you. And I hope you have a great evening, or if you're on the other side of the world, morning, wherever you are, have a good day. How about that? Have a good day. Good day.